What is a blood moon? Well, to put it simply, it is the product of partial or full lunar eclipse. This is when the Earth blocks the moon from the sun. Think of it, in essence, as the opposite of what we usually refer to as an eclipse. The Earth and the moon have simply reversed roles. Our atmosphere here on Earth can still, however, essentially project the sun's light towards and onto the moon, creating that red hue.
The sun will turn into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes.
There was once a man who had a very filthy child. Its stench was unique, a smell too distinct for mortals' words. There once was a belt maker who went through a moral dilemma. He was a poor man, but he was not filthy despite his financial shortcomings. He dressed well and washed the stench from his body every day, sometimes twice. His belt store wasn't performing well. He had 3 kids and another on the way. His dream was to make and sell belts, something that his wife saw as unstable. But he believed in the American dream, so he stayed with the store through every hardship that he was presented with. There was one particular day he thought it would all be over, and his financial hardships had gotten the better of him until a blue-collar individual stepped in his store and admired his many belts. Many had came in before to browse, but they were of the elasticated waist persuasion. This man was a hard worker. He needed belts. He walked up to the belt maker and smiled, and with some corned beef hash on his breath, he uttered, "I'll take them all." The belt maker was confused. Surely he didn't mean all of the belts. But indeed he did. A sack of dollars was laid on his counter, exactly enough for all the belts in store. He didn't know what to say. This worker would never believe the help he had just provided him with. The worker left with all the belts in several bags and sauntered down the road. Why did he need all those thick leather belts? Did it matter? The belt maker bought some lobster for his family that night and added to his children's college funds. He went to bed with a smile on his face. The next morning he came back to the store and was hard at work making more belts with iron buckles, the good stuff. Hopefully they'd be hot sellers. Thinking that the worker was just a one-time thing and a gift from the gods to encourage him to keep pursuing his dreams, he came back in that day and demanded more belts. "More?" the belt maker asked. "I haven't got any more." "I'll wait," said the worker. "I'll wait right here. When you're done, I'll pay you. Whatever the cost, you will be paid. Just make sure the belts are as thick as can be, thick and tight enough to keep a jackal in line." He made 30 more belts that day. He's not sure how he did it, but he did. As if by magic, 30 thick belts were made. The worker paid and left. The belt maker was even happier to know that this worker was a repeat customer. Nearly every day for a whole year, the worker came in and purchased belts of all varieties. They always had an iron buckle. He near put the belt maker's kids through college, and his family ate like kings every night. Hailstorm or gunfire or blazing, the worker came in and bought his belts. By God, what does a man need with so many belts? He wondered this himself, but felt rude to ask. Maybe it was an experiment to see how long this man could purchase belts without question. He thought it was in his best interest to keep his financial angel paying out just a bit longer until curiosity got the better of him one day. "So what's with the belts, Chief?" he asked. A glare was his initial response, followed by, "I told you, son, I'm keeping a jackal in line." Then he left the store, as he did every day, with a sack full of belts. That answer was a mystery to the belt maker. He decided to follow that worker home, keeping his distance, of course. Now, how a man who lived in such a decrepit area in a yellowing home, which termites would scoff at, was beyond him. The belt maker's eyes were debating over which part of the house was most foul. The dead grass, the yellow doors, the cracked walls, the embarrassed windows. But his nose had the answer. The stench. That's a smell he never forgot for the rest of his days. The worker went in, and almost instantly screams and squelches were heard. I shouldn't be doing this, he thought. But the wails were too intense to ignore. I never knew a jackal could scream like that, was his last thought before he discovered the truth. He made his way over to the basement window, where he saw something that challenged his morals. The worker had his son tied up, and he was repeatedly leathering him with his leather belts until they'd snap and be threaded. Iron buckles would be cracked, and their fragments would scatter around the basement. Too embarrassed to be seen connecting against this filthy, abhorrent child, the father said nothing. With each smack, he just beat him until one belt lacked enough pain. Then he'd simply move on to another. The belt maker thought about calling the police for what he'd seen that day, but this man was putting his child through college. Was it right to ignore what he'd seen? What would you have done in that situation? Knowing that your creations had led to such pain, would you continue to profit from them? Well, the belt maker did, for he could smell the child and see how truly disgusting he was. The bruises and black eyes and lumpy skin masked the horrific nature below. He thought the worker was right to beat the child, so he left. And for a good few years, the worker would come back in and purchase more belts. Thicker belts with the most expensive iron buckles that he had made. By God, the beatings he was profiting from would have put wars to shame. But then one day, the worker didn't come in. The belt maker went to the neighborhood, and the house stood no more. It seemingly gave up and was just a pile of rotten wood laying on the necrotic grass. The stench remained. He never sold another belt. I know I'm the one telling you this here story, but I don't know why this is. But the belt maker gunned his family down soon after, just as he had enough to send his kids to Harvard and Yale. I'm sorry I told you that tale. I just had to explain the stench.
It's Waxmouth, things have gone south. So be a potty mouth, small mouth, big mouth, foul mouth, smart mouth, mega mouth. It's Waxmouth.
Alright there, guys. It's me, Ewan. Got a quick question out there. Anyone remember the show Waxmouth? If you do, you're in luck, and you're due for a treat. Because I, Ewan, was in the show Waxmouth as the character Bert, and I'm joined today by my two co-stars, Scott and Mel. Say hello, guys.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, how's it going?
It's Mel.
Oh, look at us now. We're all grown up. So, Mel, do you have a great time working on Waxmouth?
Oh, I did. It was so much fun as a kid.
You like working on Waxmouth, Scott?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, a lot of good memories.
A lot of good memories, especially for growing up in a town as, well, let's say shitty as this one. We couldn't say shitty on Waxmouth, but it was for kids, but
Yeah.
the Waxmouth...
Now that we're adults, we can say whatever we want.
Exactly, and what a shitty town we grew up in, eh? And for those who haven't watched Waxmouth, I don't know why you'd be listening to a podcast or video about it, but it was basically where Mel's character, Wendy, she got a job working in a wax museum. And Scott and I played two wax figurines who came to life and befriended her. I played Bert, and you played...
Bob. Yeah.
But look at us now. Back then, we were so young. When I look back at that footage, I'm like, damn, it's crazy.
So little. I can barely even recognize baby Mel.
And you, Scott, you have retained your good looks, haven't you?
Yeah, I
Oh.
guess you could say that. Sure.
But yeah, it used to air on public access. This wasn't a show that went out on like Nickelodeon or Disney Channel or whatever. It just was on public access in this ether of programs by God knows who. It was fun to do, though. I loved it.
It really was. You know, growing up, we could really only afford public access. We couldn't afford any of the like big time cable networks. So thinking of other kids like me who might be able to still watch Waxmouth reruns on public access is just such a neat idea.
Yeah, I don't know if it does rerun. I mean, who knows? I honestly don't know. It's just like we just woke up here and we're just doing this podcast, talking about good times. It was so low budget. The show was pretty much just the three of us.
Yeah, and the first episode is so embarrassing. It was so weird meeting you guys for the first time and suddenly working with you. Our character's introduction did actually match how I felt in real life.
Oh, really? Well, I mean, we I don't think we could hire any other actors. I don't know if we had the money to or what. We occasionally had like a wax prop that was meant to be like a guest star or something. We didn't talk or anything. It was just there. Although, we did have one actual guest star on the show. Do you remember? It was the wax celebrity.
Yeah, that was such an odd one. That dude was so confused on set.
Yeah, it was this dude playing, a wax version of Elvis. It's really strange looking back. He was the only other guest star on the show, and he had quite a time.
I thought he was just so confused the whole time.
Honestly, I was really proud to be on that show. Looking back at it now, it was definitely one of those happier moments in our not so bright childhood.
I think we can all agree, growing up in this
Yeah.
area, there wasn't really much room for having fun as a kid. And we got to be in a TV show for the locals. As I say, I don't know how many watched it, but I like to think that someone got enjoyment from it.
Yeah, what a weird idea for a show, seriously.
I played Wendy, the female character.
You did play Wendy, the only female character. I say the only female character, but there is only like two male characters as well.
It's not like I was outnumbered.
Yeah. Scott, who did you play? Remind the audience.
Yeah, I played Bob. I mean, the cool, confident, one of the duo. So,
And I was Bert, so we were Bob and Bert.
yeah.
Admittedly,
Creative.
not as good looking as you, Scott. But you were more the straight man, and I was the comedic relief. Which on a sitcom for kids, that certainly helps to have a comic relief character.
Yeah, you usually want a comedic element in a sitcom.
Such a weird show. Looking back, it's like just really, really strange, but it's fun. Like it's such an enjoyable one. I haven't really watched it since it came out, and like if you're watching a video of us right now, you can see that we're like completely different from when we were kids and we were on that show. It's just like we've
Yeah.
changed so much. It's so strange.
In more ways than one, I wouldn't be able to recognize baby Mel.
Yeah. I mean, let's actually take a look at a clip from the first episode in which Mel's character, Wendy, first starts her cleaning job at the Wax Museum. As I mentioned before, it was your character's job to do so. That's why she met us.
Yeah.
Because she got a job there, and Bob and Bert are totally taken aback by her beauty and want to talk to her. But alas, they're made of wax and unpermitted to talk to humans. But they think she's hot, so they do so.
Nothing is as it seems. This performance you're listening to now and the show that preceded it were pure torture. The stench's filth and rotten aura was able to mask the reality of what these poor souls truly endured. Their bodies were crooked, poorly encased in paraffin wax. Their mouths were barely free, but their screams fell on deaf ears. For years, this was their lives, barely living for the stench. Their pain. If you could see them, you'd pull out your eyes. Please do not harm your ears any further. This is their existence. Be blessed that this isn't you. When you scream, someone will hear. Your screams don't sound like nostalgia. This show they speak of was broadcast in one town somehow. It just began on the television set each day at 3 p.m. and ended at 3:30 p.m. Whoever watched couldn't have imagined the annals of hell it was produced in, for they didn't see past the stench's filth, and only saw something that would one day become a distant childhood memory. These souls were encased in wax, propped up and recorded. Their pain isn't captured. It can't escape the room as it's lost in the stench's reeking odor, which blinds and batters it into submission. It scatters into the corners of this room, knowing it will never escape.
I can't believe it. I'm working in a wax museum. Oh my gosh, this is my dream come true.
She must not get out much. I mean, who'd want to clean in a wax museum? Like, whose lifelong goal is that?
Shut up, you'll blow her cover. Besides, she's gorgeous. She wants to work here and clean us, then by all means, let her clean us.
She is pretty gorgeous. Look at her, all excited. I think we should talk to her. You know, reveal ourselves. She clearly loves wax dudes.
Bert, I don't know about that. We could get in trouble.
By who exactly?
The owner.
Ah, he's barely around here anyway. Come on, let's introduce ourselves. Oh, she's walking over here. Play it cool.
Oh my, look at these guys. Now aren't they just the, well, not handsome exactly. Well, the one on the left is, but him on the right, geez Louise.
Excuse me, sister. I work hard at my looks. How dare you call me ugly? Yeah, my mold was slightly off, but I have personality.
Ah, good job, genius. You killed her.
I killed the only girl that ever thought you were handsome. Ah, shucks.
Beautiful piece of storytelling right there.
Big fan of that part. Huge, in fact.
I thought I was so cool on camera back then, but when I look back at it now, it's clear that I can see it in my eyes. I was screaming for help. If you look close enough, my lips are saying, "Kill me now."
I'm Bob.
And I'm Bert.
You guys are alive?
Well, of course we are. We're speaking to you now, ain't we?
This is trippy.
I bet it is. It's weird for us too, sister. It's not often we get to meet such a beautiful girl. I mean, beautiful woman, such as yourself.
You should be a wax statue of a pig, you know that?
Ouch, lady.
What's your name again?
It's Wendy. Wendy Mill. I know. It sounds like Windy Mill.
Oh, that is just perfect for my level of wit.
Iconic. Just iconic.
It's such a weird show looking back. Like, who are we meant to be wax statues of?
I've got so many questions.
The stench is everything wrong in this world. A truly putrid being existing only to cause misery and squalor and pathetic, rotten loneliness. It may fancy itself as a servant of the apocalypse, but it's a looter, a coward who preys on the necrotic and vulnerable to make itself feel giant like the hydra it sees in its dreams, or the bridge troll it claims it was once molested by.
So Mel, how did you actually get cast on the show?
It was weird. Our producer, Steven, just approached me outside a gas station, commented on how pretty I was, and we started filming soon after. It sounds creepy, but it was totally innocent.
I couldn't help but notice how beautiful you were. Skinny and famished, but beautiful. All little girls should be famished.
Here it stands above young Mel, whilst her father drunkenly buys scratch cards in a gas station convenience store. His life is about to be anything but convenient, for his drunken mind has left her outside with her baby brother in the running car. His beaten, intoxicated body is in no state to pursue the stench. The only saving grace of his state is that his drunkenness may mask the reek from which he is about to come close to.
He didn't want my brother. He really didn't want my brother. He wanted me to be on the show. Just me.
I could do with you. I could do with you. Your daddy is in there. He doesn't care about you. Look at him. He can't make you a star. He can't make you a star.
Stop! 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 Come back here! Get the fuck back here!
The father did notice his car speed off, and he ran as fast as his drunken body could take him. The screams of Mel pierced his ears and infected his soul. They would forever seek refuge in the dark matter of his subconscious. The stench had no need for the infant child. He didn't want him. Too plump. He didn't have the eyes of a warrior.
I don't want the little boy. I don't want the little boy in the booster seat. Oh my God, sit in booster seats.
Now, if the father was smart enough, he would have put the child lock on the back doors of the car, but he wasn't. He wasn't kind and uncaring, but he just wasn't smart enough. If he was, then maybe the next part wouldn't have happened. The stench spent a life of being chased. It knew how to make someone stop dead in their tracks.
You're really pretty. You're gonna help me out. You're gonna help me out. Okay, you're gonna help me out. Push him out. Push him out. I don't want him. I don't want him. Come out. Push him. Push him out.
As the child pushed the infant in his seat out of the moving car, one may think that his child's life couldn't get any worse, but of course, you can tell from the screams of agony that it did.
Oh God, no. No. Oh fucking no, please, God, no. I'm begging, please, don't be real. Please, don't be real. Not my baby, not my baby, no.
How should a father stand at the sight that he is looking at? Should he be on his knees? Should he be pacing and wincing? Should he be cold? Is there a right answer? As the car rides away, the stench drove far away, leaving the infant child on the road. Its face scraped off, its head is bashed like a reduced watermelon. As it drove towards the sunset, the sun gagged, dusk set, and the moon had to endure its oncoming filth. You may ask yourself, why did the clerk let a drunken man buy scratch cards with his child outside, an infant in his running car? Well, if you knew this town like I do, then you wouldn't be shocked. Now, people did stop and aid Mel's father, Grant, but most of them stopped to try and feel something by looking at what became of the child. Some felt emotion, others felt ambivalent tears roll down their cheeks. Most felt nothing, realizing that they were too far gone. This town rains ash without fires. The sun shudders when it has to to cast a glow upon the horrors that paved the streets.
I'm proud of the first episode. I wasn't the happiest kid, and the show felt like a way of dealing with a bad situation that life had handed me. It is such a weird show looking back, but it's fun. I love how cheesy it is, and the morals are good. I don't think kids care about morals in a show, but it's good to have them. This one basically said that it's okay to be friends with people who are different, and we shouldn't hate them. We should listen to them, and I guess follow them.
I'm glad we can be friends, Wendy.
Me too. I mean, you guys are different, but nothing's wrong with that.
There's plenty wrong with being different, Wendy. You know, can't get a girlfriend, can't get the girl of your dreams, can't take a girl to the movies.
Shut up, Bert.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm glad we can be friends. Work colleagues, even. I'm looking forward to seeing you here every day. It's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah, and don't worry, I won't ever reveal your secret.
Thanks. You don't want us to melt, do you?
Of course not.
Well, my heart melts for you every day, Wendy.
Well, maybe I want one of you to melt.
I love you, Mel. I love your character. In 20 minutes, she immediately comes round to the idea of having 2 wax statues who hit on her as best friends. What a woman.
Good times. Happy moments for my childhood.
And we've got Steve to thank for it.
Very, very thankful to you, Steve. Mr. Ench, we love you.
He gave us some fun. He gave us something to do while we approach the doom that is adulthood and we have to do real jobs that matter.
Yep.
We've got important things to do now. But hey, at least we had some fun up until then. But it's fun now talking to you guys. We're not acting anymore, because we're actually still working with Steve. But the stuff we're doing now is actually a lot more serious than Waxmouth ever was. Thanks for listening, everybody. Now, we will eventually get to, my favourite episode where Mel accidentally turns into a wax figure herself. Now, that's a classic one.
Who could forget?
We'll be back to talk about episode 2 soon.
Isn't it just pathetic? Hell wouldn't waste its flames on burning such excrement.
It really was. Growing up, we could really only afford public access. We couldn't afford any of the, big-time cable networks. So, thinking of other kids like...
A center of a town helps one know the state of the place overall. Just listen to this. Chaos is the fabric, and damnation is the whole shirt. That vomiting noise is Grant, his sickness paving the cracks in the cobble street. Now, I'm not sure if he's sober enough to truly understand the gravity of the email he has received, but when he sobers up, he will. He will. Who sent it? Who knows? The better question is, what sent it? Now that I know. He's not free, Momentarily it may feel like that, but he's still stuck. How unfortunate.
Shush! I said shut it! We've been through this many times before. You're not getting out. I'll let you breathe. But you'll be hurt when I'm done.
Hopefully the nostrils will be covered to escape the stench. It puts some wax in its mouth. Its rotten breath boils it, and it sprays. The process is grueling, and it's been done many times before.